Hey Libra, this is your April 2025 soul story. If you have a sun, rising or moon in the sign, it's your reading. Thanks so much for joining me on the channel. Really appreciate you. It's Romy here. Okay, we're going to open up for you this month with the energy of the Two of Cups. You may well have felt a little bit rattled of late, but certainly after the storms do arrive the rainbows, and I think there's something incredibly healing about this month, particularly for you with the full moon arriving in your sign. But we even open up April on the 3rd with Venus conjunct the North Node and something quite fated about the unfolding, what you're leaning into, the sensory experience or the signposts that are showing up. And there's certainly a sense of being able to come back together with something or someone. And that might be after what has been a potentially turbulent or difficult time with your ruling planet, Venus in retrograde, also Mercury in retrograde, and of course eclipse season. Now, the 4th and the 6th of the month also bring about some harmonious opportunities for, I want to say, like the setup of the conversations or the actions that need to be taken in regards to something. You perhaps just have a little bit of a better feeling about it, but there's perhaps still choices that do need to be made. Now, when Venus stations direct in Pisces on the 7th, it definitely feels like it's clearing the air. So the whole first part of April, you know, where there has been a lot of confusion or uncertainty, or even where you have been going backwards and forwards in your own thought process regarding something, it's almost like you reached a limit, right, of that. And now, you know, you have to enable like this new version of you, the growth that's happened, to be actioned into something different. You have to become that person. And that's really what I see like showing up so vibrantly for you in the month of April, Libra. Now, the full moon arrives in your sign on the 12th, the same day your ruling planet Venus stations direct. And I definitely think there's going to be a collective sigh of relief for you. It's almost like you get to let go of something that's felt like a real burden that you've been carrying. But also I think that you come to your own conclusions around perhaps something that you've been struggling with for some time. We have the Six of Coins here, and it definitely feels like there's give and take, there's a mutual understanding, there's a lot more balance coming in. Now, do remember that on that full moon energy, Libra, Chiron is having a cazimi in the sign of Aries, and there is a lot of fire moving through April, okay? So even though we have what I see is quite a healing month, we're also dealing with a lot of friction, but the sort of impetus and the motivation to move, to go, and to sort of bring that passion to the forefront, to try and direct and harness it in the right way, is really palpable. But Chiron can also bring about that sort of uncomfortable energy. It can, you know, tap right into the insecurity or the wound, and it feels like maybe we're going there again. You know, there's like one sort of final moment where it has to be faced or acknowledged. But remember, it's a full moon energy, it's in your sign, so there's something quite significant. And you know, you have already been through that tumultuous eclipse soul story, and you've already done so much shedding, and this feels like a sort of culminating time when you really realize actually how far you have come. I think what really matters is this realization that you have to have peace in your connections. It's not just a nice to have. You know, life has to reflect a new vibrational reality for you, and that means that you have to take a direct action in order to achieve it. That is what April is about. There's a lot of passion, but there is also this shifting tide energy that is bringing in very grounded transformation. So it's healing and it's feeling. And remember, you know, when you're fearless, you're coming from your heart. When you're fearful, it's very much being elicited from your mind, which we know can have all sorts of beliefs and resistance and blocks and intervention that's coming from the ego, right? So I think that full moon is in a way liberating, but also might feel somewhat exhausting. You know, it's almost like when you've come to the conclusion, perhaps had the conversation, had, you know, a sort of reuniting energy, or given out something, there's going to be a time needed to just sort of recalibrate and balance, and you're going to have to be a little bit mindful with all that fire that you don't burn out, okay? Because there is, you know, the tendency to have a little bit of like depletion energy, and that could also just be from the amount of stress or everything that you've been sort of running on adrenaline wise, but you know, especially if through March it just felt like you were kind of here, there and everywhere. I want you to be mindful on the 14th that the asteroid goddess Juno is going retrograde in Scorpio, right, into your second house. And, you know, she's diving deep, right? And remember, she's ruling partnerships, agreements. Now, there might be something that you're poring over, and in Scorpio, what's hidden or trying to hide something could be to do with money. You know, it might be about the terms and conditions or things coming up, things coming to light. The same day Saturn is conjunct the North Node, there's a bit of a karmic point here, a bit of a check-in, a bit of a reality check. Maybe it feels a little bit sobering, right? Again, that Chiron energy, remember, has got that slight ouch feeling to it that sort of comes about, and the revelation that that moon energy could bring. So keep that in mind around the mid-month, okay, and sort of how that's affecting you. Juno retrograde in Scorpio also has a tendency to bring up some jealousy, some envy, some insecurity. So you could be leaning into that from someone else, or you yourself may be feeling that as a result of things that are unfolding. Maybe you're moving forward, but there's some of the shadow trust issues or insecurity that haven't fully been resolved within you, or that get spiked back up because of conversations or things that come to light. Now, as we progress forward, mid-month, Mercury is back into Aries, and then on the 17th, Mars back into Leo. This is important because it feels like there's sort of second chances. Now, not just, you know, second chances in terms of relationships, so that maybe that you've gone through some, you know, conflict and separation, distance, breakup, you know, that's all definitely, you know, viable things that could have occurred for you of late. But the second chance to also revisit what was lighting you up, the creative ideas, the solutions, the way forward that felt really clear, and then all of a sudden started to sort of become impeded with perhaps external forces, or you just getting in your own way. So all of a sudden there's this sense of like things are coming back online. And of course, with that fire energy, especially, you know, with Mercury coming back into Aries, it sort of feels like your determination, your focus, your drive to get something done is lit up. Mars and Leo can bring a lot of sort of creative energy to the table to light it up and kind of go bigger in your mind with your vision. You've got the Queen of Wands here, and I feel that's super powerful for you. Bearing in mind, of course, Aries energy is your 7th house, so there could be a lot pertaining to relationships, connections that are going on, especially the ones that hold a degree of intimacy to you, not necessarily always romantic, but just that, you know, you're up close and personal with these people, engaging with them. You know, what is that meaning? What is going on? How is that unfolding? Now, if you are not where you thought you'd be, or not where you want to be, you have time. And don't be surprised, because April, like, I think, to be honest, every time right now just feels like it's on warp speed, but April particularly has an energy around it that as you're taking action, it's almost like you're taking these big leaps forward. It's not just small incremental steps anymore. So, you know, when you get online, when you get on track and you're focused and ready, then you can gain ground, and you can have that sense of feeling like you're catching up with yourself in a really powerful way. Now, I do want to say to you, through the month of April, it feels like there is a big ask. There is a big ask of you. Maybe it's coming from spirit. Maybe someone specifically in your life is asking something of you. Remember, as we, you know, are moving through Aries energy, there's going to be shifts and changes going on in your relationship. Now, you understand that ask. Yeah, you may even want it. You may even sort of be on board with it. But I think that there's still this huge degree of uncertainty that you have in regards to it. Can you really believe in this? Is this a risk? Does it really feel doable? What is the validity of that? You know, all of these things are coming up, but they're revealing that, in fact, a decision does need to be made. Now, there may be some procrastination for you, 4 of Cups, as you sort of sit in, you know, a wiser sense of contemplation about what this is really going to mean for you, what it's asking of you, what you're asking of yourself. And it may be that you just kind of temporarily go offline a little bit. Maybe it just feels all a bit overwhelming, or it just so stops making sense for a moment. Or so, you know, don't worry if there's a little bit of a blip, right? You're even kind of like, how did I get here? How did this even happen? I feel like I've been sort of swept up in something. And, you know, that's okay. You can take some time and just kind of allow yourself to come back into that state of peace and balance. And I think by the time the sun shifts into Taurus, it's going to make a lot more sense to you. Now, I do want to call out on the 20th, we do have a bit of an uncomfortable opposition with Mars and Pluto. It's a very clashing energy, quite volatile. You might see some stuff in the collective, sadly, reflecting that. But on the internal, or perhaps closer to home, you know, there could be a little bit of a crisis moment here. We've got the energy of judgment. So something brewing or coming to a head or coming to light that feels quite challenging for you. Now, it could just be that there's an inner conflict. It could be around a choice or decision that you know is on its way, or what it is asking of you, what it means for you, and that's a moment where the tension is really sort of brought out into the open. In a way, that sort of feels like the cathartic but also the catalytic moment when then everything gets to sort of shift into its right gear. And then on the build up to the new moon in Taurus, which is going to come on the 27th, this is where we're really powering forward in this bigger sort of transformative pathway, right? And I think that, you know, you see the butterflies all sort of dancing to the tune. It's like something comes alive in you. You sort of feel the reverberations of maybe what that clash or volatility has done, and it moves you. And when we feel moved by something, the ability to take action is a lot easier than if we're trying to muster it up from a place of just almost like Four of Cups, right? So it's just like from that energy, you were never going to be able to really energize yourself or get on board with it. All of a sudden then something comes in and sort of stirs it up, and it almost feels like maybe, you know, you're backed up against a corner in a way, or maybe there's a time sensitive scenario, or maybe the way it's presented to you, or the conversation you have with yourself. But whatever it is, it just feels from that moment, you're kind of you're clear thinking. And that new moon in Taurus heralds like a really powerful sort of rebirth energy. Remember, into Taurus, you're sort of moving into that 8th house, and there's something sort of that you're having to dig deep and go deep, but it's also just like, I know why I'm doing this, I know what it represents, and I know why I have to. Do you know, this is why I'm saying returning to this sort of, you've reached a limit with something in yourself where it's like, I've got to break free from the old version of me, or the old life, or whatever it is. And I think that you're prepared and focused, and it is a bit of a wild ride in April. It's very healing, but I also think that this friction does sort of bring about like a slight discomfort, because change is discomfort, but it's also the only mechanism to really allow for that true growth to unfold for you, right? So, you know, it is about ensuring that you can kind of keep yourself in balance, mind, body and soul. That Four of Swords definitely tells me that you're feeling the effects of things. You might just need a little bit of a break, or maybe you have a break planned. That will certainly re-energize you. But, you know, there's something still that you're reflective and contemplating, that, you know, you may think the ideal time is not now, but is there ever an ideal time? And sometimes fate and destiny steps in. And that's why I say that April is very much about fire and fate. So if you are new to the channel, our last 3 cards we're going to look at in the extended reading. You're going to find the link for that in the comment and description box underneath, Libra. I hope you'll join me if it's resonating. We're also going to look at a personal card and a relationship card for you, just to flesh out this month ahead and see what more we can deliver for you. Let's go ahead and clarify and just see the direction that reading is going to go in. Yeah, so we've got the energy of the Lovers, 2 of Cups there, and the 9 of Pentacles. Now, please, if you're new to the channel, or if you're a regular, go check out romywiser.com. If you're after a reading with me, if you are looking for my sacred titles, my oracle deck, my journal, my book, these are all tools that are supportive for you wherever you are on your journey. And really, you know, there's a lot more products. There's my membership. There's a lot to check out in terms of the ways in which I show up for you. You'll also find all the decks that I use listed below if that's of interest. So you've got some nice majors coming in here. The Chariot, the Magician. What about this Judgment? What's it showing us? Ace of Cups, 10 of Wands. Let me just pull one more for that. 9 of Cups. There we go. just feels like you're breaking free. You know, you're sort of wrestling with yourself over something a little bit, but then when you allow yourself to step into the flow, sort of like everything changes, you know. And it's so often the case with all of us, right? We can contemplate and be in that sort of place of indecisiveness, and sometimes we need to take the action in order for the energy to clear. You know, we sit and wait for the right timing or to get the perfect sign, but sometimes we have to sort of create the conditions for it. Right, so this is Life Soul Vision, which is my own deck. We've got Cosmic Rebellion, we've got Crown Energy, Activations of Wisdom, the Sun charged in light, Queen of Earth, Nature's Blessings. We've got Sacred Soul Union, got some beautiful cards showing up here, and the Wishing Tree, along with the Nine of Cups. It's a mirroring of, you know, just receiving. Like I said, you know, rainbows coming in after the storms for you, for something wanted showing up. Now, let's have a look at a couple of oracles for you. What do we have here? For Libra for the month of April, we've got Gemini and the energy of rescue. And then finally, we're going to look at an animal spirit card. We'll look at the messages of these in the extended reading. Libra for April. Okay, we've got the cosmic egg coming through for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Please do join me for the extended. Your investment means the world, helps me to keep showing up. Have a great month. Enjoy that full moon of yours. And I'm going to see you again next time. You take good care. Bye for now.